It's been one great weekend of hockey, Cam.
Yeah, you can say that again. Talking about the Charlotte Checkers, they set a record for highest attendance in franchise history of Bojangles Coliseum in Game 1 and then topped that record on Game 2 just 2 days later. The Calder Cup Finals is tied up at 1 game apiece heading to Abbotsford. Let's see how we got to that point. Again, the crowd at the Biscuit was deep and they were loud, waving the towels for some championship hockey on Friday night. And the Checkers fed off of that energy early, scoring 2 straight after falling behind 1-0, including that insane buzzer beater from Oliver O'Coulier with 0.6 seconds left to end the first period. Charlotte held a 3-2 lead in the third period and were 11 minutes away from winning Game 1 before the Canucks stunned the home crowd, tying things up and sent the game to overtime. Still tied at 3-3 in the second overtime. When this very weird sequence unfolds, we'll try to break it down here. Charlotte seemingly gets the game-winning goal on a face-off, but not so fast. The referees confer, and they say that Abbotsford's goalie was not ready for the face-off, so the goal was waved off. I've never seen anything like it.
Ridiculous.
The crowd was stunned, and then 6 minutes later, the Canucks pull it off and start the series with a win on the road. Here is head coach Jordy Kinnear on that bizarre no goal that changed the game for the Checkers.
Just that the goalie wasn't set, so wasn't ready for the face-off, so they deemed that the goalie wasn't ready. I just look at it. Centerman's, a bit old school, but the centerman's just ready to take the face off. His job is to make sure everybody's ready before he gets his head over the circle. But is what it is. It's playoff hockey. There's going to be mistakes both ways. So again, you can't get too high, too low. You just move on. And I thought we responded well. I thought we came out and had some chances. But in the end, you look at the score sheet. It's 2 for 7, 0 for 5.
So that 2 for 7, 0 for 5 number Kinnear just mentioned is important. That's the power play opportunities and how much they were converted for each team. So Charlotte 0 for 5, they failed to score on any of their 5 power play chances, and that played as big of a role in the loss as that waved off goal.
Yeah, dude, Cam, it was crazy, but no time to hang your head. Charlotte got right back into it on Sunday out Game 2. John Leonard, Wilmer Skook both score in the opening period. That saw both teams tied at 2 goals apiece heading into the first intermission. It would remain tied by the end of regulation, so of course to overtime we go. Michael Bennett ends it just 4 minutes in. The overtime goal giving the Checkers a 3-2 win to tie the series up 1 game apiece. Here now, Coach Kinnear on the win.
Well, I think the heat, that's why I'm drinking water to hydrate. It's hot in the building. It's a playoff type game. It's the best time of year to play hockey. It's going to take toughness to be able to win in the end. I thought both teams showed a lot of toughness tonight because it was not an easy game. So again, a lot of work to be done, but happy to get the win.
Yeah, Coach Kinnear mentioned how hot it was. He had to hydrate. I was there for Game 1. You were there for Game 2. They're playing on ice, but when you get that many people, almost 9,000 people in Bojangles Coliseum, it gets pretty hot in a hurry, and that kind of adds to some of the fatigue, the overtime, double overtime games. It's a lot going on, a lot of hockey. Really drained the guy. I was just watching from the stands and shooting some highlights, and I felt drained just from up top.
So I wanted a T-shirt, and I had my hoodie ready because it's hockey. It's going to get cold.
You think it's going to be cold?
I didn't put the hoodie on at all whatsoever. I was sweating. It was hot. It was so many people there. Look, you mentioned it, not only in Game 1, but Game 2. The fact that the Queen City came out, and they came out in numbers, was fantastic. I'm really glad they got that win in overtime in Game 2. And the reason, because this was highway robbery, Cam. This is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen in professional sports. The rule is, when the referees are set, when the players on the ice are set and tap their stick on the ice, you are set and ready to go. If the netminder wants to catch butterflies, if the netminder wants to lollygag and be in another planet, that's on them. And they're going to get a goal scored on like they did. The fact that they went, reviewed it, called the goal off on a double overtime game was ridiculous. Cam, you know why I was hot? It was hot because everybody was so heated. That's why.
Yeah, we talked with players and Coach Kinnear extensively after the game about that specifically, and they, to their credit, they handled it very well, very professionally. We talked to Trevor Carrick, a defenseman for the team, and he says he's never seen anything like that before, and their understanding as players is once that center lines up, the center shouldn't line up unless he knows his team is set. So that's a mistake on Abbotsford that they definitely got away with. And again, credit to the Checkers. They had the right mentality. They bounced back. It's a long series. series. They just swept the previous 2 series. You're not going to win them all, but if they weren't able to pull off the win in game 2 and you somehow find yourself down 0-2 after starting the series at home, then that issue becomes a lot more glaring. So now it's on the Checkers to make sure that we're not talking about that mistake by the time the series is over. But as you said, it's a glaring one. I've been covering this team for 3 years. I've never seen anything like that before. It's a very peculiar play. And again, Kinnear, as a good professional coach, points to the 0 for 5 on power plays. They had numerous chances to win that game and didn't. And it's, again, you're not going to blame the refs. You're not going to put it all on them. That was a mistake. But Charlotte owned that they could have played better in that game, and they came out and then backed it up in game 2. So
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that because, yes, those numbers are glaring. They should have put the puck behind the net immediately with those chances, and they didn't do that. I will, and this will be my last point, and I'll move on, and I'll let it go. If this was an NHL game, this would be talked about for weeks.
Yeah.
These referees would never go near a youth hockey rink. It would be that bad. That's why I'm so fired up about it, but it is great that they got a win in that second game, and we mentioned it before the season started, the series started, rather. These are 2 very good teams. This can easily go 7 games. Easily.
I'd be surprised if it doesn't.
Yes.
And then the other thing that you see in the first 2 games, double overtime in game 1, overtime in game 2, this is where Charlotte, having swept the Eastern Conference Finals and having that extended rest, is really going to benefit. They're coming into that series with fresh legs, and I get you're still playing, 5 periods of hockey and then 4 periods of hockey in 3 days. But the fact that they had 10 days of rest between the Eastern Conference Finals and Game 1 of the Calder Cup Finals is going to start paying dividends. I feel like Abbotsford, their legs might start to get a little bit more tired, especially because of the tight turnaround on travel. Today's kind of a practice travel day. They're back at it for Game 3 tomorrow night. So this is where Charlotte, having that ability to kind of regenerate a little bit, is going to hopefully pay some dividends and keep guys a little bit more fresh.
8-hour flight, 2,400 miles away. That is a great